if you spend 100% of your time dedicated to perfecting your craft, to making money, to being super successful, you're not going to worry about your family as much. You're not going to worry about your own health. You're not going to worry about your friends. Those things are going to get pushed to the side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it kills me when people are like, this billionaire, he's got it good. Like, he probably doesn't. He really and truly probably doesn't.
Whenever I come to the house, you're always like there,
Yeah.
and we kind of like shoot the shit for a few minutes. But I always wanted to talk because like every time we do talk, it ends up being like hella productive or something. Like you're probably the only person I know who I can talk to about something that's not just like theoretical.
Sure.
Like I have friends who are cool, they understand things, and I can talk like on a deep level about stuff, but they don't like do anything that like particularly is like cool or like different. And you're the only person I know who's flipped things. And like for anyone listening, he's who got me into flipping. He's got me into like finances. So we're gonna pick the man's brain. The man is 18. We're gonna.
Man.
He's a man. He's barely a man. He's going to Clemson. It's gonna be epic. But we'll get right into it. I'm gonna hit my intro real quick. Welcome back to your Joyage, everybody. It's Cage, your guide. I'll be replacing the voice inside your head for now, giving you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say first, thank you for listening, viewing, whatever platform you're on. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, drop a like in this video, so that people can find the Voyage. If you haven't already, please follow Joyage Clips at Joyage Clips on TikTok and Instagram. That's where I post everything. And also YouTube Shorts. I just started uploading there, so if you want to give me some views there, that'd be dope. I hope the setup here is good. I'm kind of just saying I was setting up for like ever, and like the man ate like 16 meals before we got into it. But
do we have like a cringy thing that they can comment for the algo?
Oh, that's actually smart.
We could do like Utah,
Utah, something about Utah, like Mormons.
Mormons.
Honestly, I was gonna put in Mormon stuff. I don't know anything about fucking Mormons, dude. Like, I don't know anything about Mormons. Also, we can't curse on this, and dude, I was worried about that because like. I curse. Like, I just do. It's natural. My mom hates it. My dad hates it. My grandma hates it.
It's how you build emphasis,
It's just like, that's just my natural diction. Like, it just comes out like that. They were like, well, you don't need it. Like, it just sounds like you're trying to, like, you come off really well and then you curse. I'm like, yeah, but it just happens,
Yeah.
And your family is cool about it. I tried it early on. I like threw in a cuss word just to see how they would react. No one said anything, and then your dad said something, and I was like, oh, thank God.
My family builds on it. Like, we'll be like pretty good all day, and then like
Yeah.
one person will say something, and then somebody else will say something. Next thing you know, it's just dropping left and right.
It's epic. But anyways, dude, so this trip, cool as fuck. Connected with Nancy a lot, with your parents a lot, which is cool. And then you and I like been talking hella a lot. We could have recorded 16 podcasts in the amount of stuff we've talked about. There was multiple times where I held myself back from saying something or questioning or asking something because I was like, fuck, do I want to know right now or what I want to know in like one day when I can film it?
we can get it documented.
Yeah. All right, so like one of the first things that we've talked about, I don't think I've directly asked you like how specifically and why you were into like I don't even think you even called it entrepreneurship or like any of that stuff. It just kind of like it's natural. Like, how did that happen, I guess?
Yeah, so it's almost like what do they say? It's in your blood. It's one of those things that you're just kind of born with. But I don't know. Finance has always been something I'm interested in. Making my own money, being independent. So my mom always jokes around that it started in like first grade. Like those rubber band bracelets that everybody was like weaving together. I had a whole little kingpin going on in my first grade classroom. Basically, I was like getting my grandmother to like supply me with these bracelets, because I couldn't go get them. Or you get like the rubber bands, and then I would stay up all night weaving different designs. And then I would come into school and, sell them and come home with a lunchbox full of $1 bills and whatnot.
That was first grade?
It was first or second, I want to say.
Because when you're first grade, you're like 7.
Yeah,
I
was like 7, 8 range.
Because I've worked with first graders and I've worked with all the way up to 5th graders. I've never met anyone until probably 5th grade where I was like, I think there's something in your brain other than just reacting to stuff. Like, what? Why were you able to put things together in your head at first grade? How's it even possible?
I mean, it might have been a year or two later, but it was somewhere first, 3rd grade range. I don't know. I'm sure that business was pretty flawed. I'm sure if I looked back at it, I'd be like, damn, this kid was messing up. But it just made so much sense to me. Like, I can buy this for this much, spend this amount of time making it, and I can sell it at this price and make a profit. And I mean, looking back, like I think the smartest thing that I've done, which is actually a pretty big marketing tactic now, is like I remember going to like the kids who I thought were cool, like the kids, the trendsetters, the kids who had the Nike Elites,
Oh my fucking god, yeah. 100%.
And I was like, hey, you want this bracelet? So then we get 3 of the coolest kids in the class wearing the bracelets.
Oh, so that's like affiliate marketing almost.
Exactly.
He found his sponsorships basically.
And so I got the cool kids on the bracelets, and then everybody wanted them.
Was that your thinking? That was your logic?
Who knows what I was thinking?
Wow.
I probably was thinking like, hey, I think these are cool, so let me get the cool kids to think they're cool, so then I'm cool,
Who are your influences to get? Because that wasn't in my head to think about stuff like that. All I was worried about was surviving social media class, not social media, social studies class, and like not being like a loser. Like that was the only thing on my mind, I think, at first grade.
Yeah, I mean,
is it external factors like parents? Like,
I mean, I wasn't really into like YouTube and stuff. Like I'm a big YouTube watcher now, and so like I definitely get like 90% of my influence from there. So I wasn't into that then, and like my parents, I don't know they're not risk takers. I feel like most parents are. They're pretty conservative, work your 9 to 5, and so like definitely wasn't getting pushed by them. I know some parents really push their kids to be entrepreneurial.
True.
But it's just one of those things I did. Throughout really all of my educational career, now that I'm kind of leaving that phase of it, now I think about it, because a couple years later, the fidget spinner craze came out, and that was like 6th grade, first year of middle school, and that was the first time I like really planned out a business. And so I basically got in contact with like a wholesaler in China, or I mean, I say contact, I texted a dude on like Alibaba.
Is that how it works back then? That was what year?
I mean, 6th grade, so
6th grade.
6 years ago.
Wow, how did you even like, man, I don't know how you got to that. Like, I don't understand how you got to a point of just like being a kid and thinking to contact someone to resell. Like, do you know where the resell thing came up, or was it just like logic? You were like, you know what, I could buy this for here and sell it for more.
I mean, it started as, all right, this kid's got a cool fidget spinner, and how much you pay for it? Every kid is,
Yeah.
All right, you paid $15 for that. All right, I go online, look up like fidget spinner. I would spend like hours looking at like online who has the cheapest deals, and then you walk into like wholesaling and bulk orders, and then you're like, shit, like I can get 100 of these suckers for 98 cents a piece, $20 shipping. And I remember I didn't have a credit card, or like I didn't have any form of payment besides like cash, and I thought that was like my biggest hurdle when at that age, because like I can't order stuff online. I remember begging my mom. It was me and I roped a friend in to get involved with it. We were in like 2 different friend groups, and I was like, hey, this kid can push to this friend group, I can push to my friend group. And like we're like begging my mom, hey, like we have the cash right here, can we pay you? I think I also only had like $75. I need like the other 25, so like I went in with them, and we ordered 100 for like $120, I want to say, like a little over $1.10 a unit. And I remember he had social media and I didn't have social media at the time, and he posted a picture of all the different colors, because they were all the same design but they were different colors, and he was like $7 each, and like his whatever social media just blew up. There was like 30 kids, yo, I want the blue one, I want the red one, and I looked at him and I was like first week we sold like 25 fidget spinners, and I'm like,
wow,
yo, like this 7x return, like this is ridiculous.
Wow.
And I don't remember if it was a few years before or after, but I did something similar with like those tech deck skateboards. Saw the cool kids using them. I was like, I can definitely get this pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I think I bought like a box of like used ones and cleaned them up a little bit and sold them.
Because this brings up a point that I haven't been able to like verbalize or talk about, because I haven't met anyone like this before you. But there's some people who naturally have a inkling for business, and like I think that sounds like bullshit. But like no one thinks like that. Like nobody I've ever met has ever thought that way of thinking. And people like Gary Vee who talk about self-awareness, they're like, look, well right now it's in. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Everyone wants to be a bit, but not everyone like can. Some people just aren't good at it. Some people, if you can't naturally think like that, I don't know if there's much hope. Because like for me, when you open my eyes to flipping, so for some backstory, this is probably the first time you and I ever like actually like hung out for a bit. He was like
desperate need.
This was an ego hit for me a little bit, because I'm 23. I was 22 at the time. You're 18. You're in high school, and he hits me up. He's like, "Hey dog, you want to make like $50 or whatever it was? I just need you to like help me load some stuff. I'm gonna flip this thing." And so when he asked me that, I was like, "Okay, so he's gonna make like thousands of dollars, and he's paying me $50 because he needs me to lift something. And
Hey,
I was
but
like,
what?
damn.
2 hours of work?
No, that's the
You
thing, because
know?
when I heard that, when I realized it, after the initial ego hit, where I was like, damn, it opened my eyes. It was like, wow, that makes so much sense, and that's so smart. And so when you did that and you flipped it and you were telling me about it, you got like we dove deep into business stuff, and that's when I really started to kind of understand how your mind worked, and it started to unlock like pathways in my head.
Okay.
And I was like, holy shit, there's something to this. This makes sense. And like that's how my brain works. Once I can like connect logic to realize stuff, to the way my brain works. And so when that happened, a couple months later, I like text you. I was like, oh, I'm gonna flip this thing. You're like, a great idea. Like keep me updated. And then I finally, after like weeks of doing it, I was like, I'm gonna do the exact same shit you did. And I bought a home gym and I flipped it and tripled my money or whatever it was. And that was a huge fucking moment, because like that's not a thing that I think 95% of people have never flipped something.
Well, it's so easy to say, hey, I see a demand. I see a way for me to source material, and I can sell it and make a profit. All I got to do is take pictures. Easy,
Right.
But for somebody to really take the idea from paper to put it into action, I think that was something that I really like when I saw you and you did it. Like, it was in like the course of a month, you went from me saying, hey, I asked my sister, I remember, because with the weight stuff, you had to act pretty quick, and so I contacted the guy, and it was a couple of pieces, and I run up to my sister, who's the biggest guy you know? You got any strong friends that can come help me? Like $50 is on the table here. She's like, yeah. She calls you up, but and then when you text me, you were just like, hey, like I bought this, what do you think, kind of thing, and I was like, dude, this kid's he really wants to be about it, because like so many kids they'll be like, oh, how are you making money? I'll explain it. They're like, all right, that's cool, that makes sense. So.
Yeah, they don't do it. I think it's the risk of like actually putting your money where your mouth is. For me, even with crypto, people are like, well, what should I do? What should I do this? And I'm like, I think you should just put in $5 into a few and just like get some skin in the game. And then now you're forced to do it, because now you have some equity in the game, Like if you go to a garage sale and you spend $30 on just stuff, now you have no choice but to act. And like before, you can always think about it, you can always plan, you can always say you're going to do it, and then you just don't. And it's so easy not to.
And more than just like the money thing, I think it's a pride thing.
Do you think so?
So like, if I buy something, like I buy item X for $10, and I think I can sell it for $40, and I can't, then it's like a mental failure.
Oh, okay.
And so people are scared of, not that they lost the $10, but that they made this elaborate plan, told all their friends about it, and then it didn't work out.
Very true. Very true.
Because, I think it's a natural human instinct to be scared of failure.
Yeah, and it's interesting. With this trip specifically, I got comfortable with, I don't even know if it would be, for me, this specific thing, I don't think it's like getting comfortable with failing. It's just getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, which could be failing. So like, people aren't used to that, and they naturally stay away from it, because it makes sense. Like our reptilian brain or whatever, like the natural instinct is like, yo, let's not put ourselves in danger. But I'm used to it. I've gotten more and more used to it. Plus, like, as soon as it happened, as soon as it worked, and I flipped my first thing, and I flipped like a stuffed animal for like $10, I was like, okay, so I don't have to trade my time for money. And so since that flip with the gym, I haven't done that. I've done flips here and there, but I haven't stuck with the flipping thing. I'm not sure why, but I have there's like a permanent change in the way I look at money and how to make money. And I don't like the idea of trading my time for money. So I don't want to do that as long as, like, I want to cut that like thing as soon as possible. So I'm surprised when you told me that you were working like at a job, knowing how much money you're making and how much you could be. Cause I'm like, I don't know. I guess I thought like your time could be spent somewhere else, and I thought you would be, but you're not.
Yeah, I make the joke I make less money working. But
you make what?
I make less money when I work.
I'm serious. Like, what do you like? Why are you doing it? I don't get it.
It's kind of just helping family out,
Okay.
It's just short staffed. We know how COVID is. And it's just a couple month thing, and it's something to put on a resume, and I guess it just makes life. It'll make me more thankful for the time that I have when I'm not working.
True. That's very true.
So I try and be optimistic about it, as much as I hate working in the restaurant world, but I feel like I'm at least have had to. I've probably been into like finance, crypto, making money like for real for like the past 3 years, where like I've had enough money to where it mattered. So like most of my income streams I can still work on them while I'm at work,
True.
Or at least like I was telling you, I love to I'll listen to podcasts, and so it's like at least I can tell myself, hey, you're gonna listen to this podcast anyways, why don't you make X amount per hour listening to it, don't just sit here and kind of give into this job life.
Speaking of podcasts and like listening to podcasts, so And I can't remember if I asked you this question or if this just like came up naturally and we kind of surface level talked about it the other day. But with now, you can look up anything. You can get any influencer you want. You can like any topic you want. You can learn about it pretty quickly and easily.
Yeah.
That did not exist back then. It didn't even exist 5 years ago, really. So it's like, how'd you get into like the entrepreneurial spirit in the world? Like, because for me, it doesn't make any sense that you could have not had any like external influences or like videos or podcasts telling you about that, opening your mind. Like, I couldn't have thought about flipping and finances the way that I do now had I not had that experience with you where you kind of opened my eyes to it. I never would have had that experience. Maybe I would have watched a podcast later, but you had that growing up. You told me you were into crypto for a while. You were like into like alternative ways of thinking just naturally. Is that what it was? Was it natural?
So the big thing for me is you can't get a job till you're 16 in South Carolina.
And you wanted to work?
I wanted to make money.
Just want to make money.
I was too, young and dumb to realize that the whole trade money for time just isn't how you do it.
Mm.
Well, it's how you get started. I don't like to discourage it because, like, I mean, for some people there's no other option than that. That's the only thing on the table right now. And building off that is important. I think it's important not to settle with that. But I was just like, I got that brain where I get fascinated with stuff. And I've been blessed where like what I've been fascinated with is like pretty productive
Dude,
stuff.
it's the best. Imagine being a YouTuber who talks about finance. One, your ads are the best on YouTube right now because you're talking about right now. It's just in. If you're talking about crypto or money, your ad revenue is just ridiculous. Everyone's talking about money, but you were already obsessed with money for some reason. What was it about money? Or I remember you told me earlier it was about the freedom.
It's all about
but
freedom. For me.
In the beginning, it was about that. When you were 12, was it about freedom?
I don't know. I always had this mindset that I'm gonna be successful.
And money was your road to the vehicle to success for you.
Yeah, that's my surface level capitalist hated mind view of success is money. I guess because it's the only tangible thing for me. You know, I'm 12. I can't worry about getting married to an amazing wife.
Yeah.
You know, but and also I have seen people struggle, and I would hate. You know, a big thing for me is I want to build generational wealth. I don't want my kids to worry about money. You know, like my parents, they grew up in a not the best situation you'd say, and they've really made a name for ourselves. And so it's like I would consider myself a failure if I couldn't uphold that parabolic curve to success. You know.
How do you plan on instilling that? Because that's something I worry about. Instilling work ethic, blue collar mentality, but also like smart, like work smart, not hard, but also work. You know, put in some work. Don't be scared to get your hands dirty. Grind for even years before you see any kind of success. Like, how do you plan on doing that? But also providing generational wealth, because you hear about trust fund babies. You know,
yeah.
how do you plan on doing that?
I mean, sports is definitely going to be the number one thing for me, and I don't care where my kids go with it, but it's like I feel like that's nobody. You know, just like some kids are naturally gifted, but at a certain age, like it's who works hard. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And sports have always been a big part of my life, and my parents have kind of really pushed me down. Hey, you know, take this seriously, sports and education. And I feel like when you're at the level where your kid is really, they're not blessed with the ability to be in a situation where they're challenged.
Mm-hmm.
I know people probably hate hearing that from a middle class white kid.
Yeah.
But like one of the greatest things that you can have is to come from a place of adversity. You know, like sometimes my selfish self will be like, damn, I wish I struggled a little more. You know, wish I had to grind through a little more. You know, like even like talking to like you or some other people like I know, I'm like, damn, like you bit the nail and you went for it. You know, like you got through some stuff. Like I haven't had adversity in my life.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty easy road for me. And so like for me, sports was that hardship. You know, like I wasn't the best at whatever I was doing.
You worked.
But I put at least a foot forward. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about that a lot with the fact that I haven't had like a death or anything crazy bad happen.
Yeah.
So I had to force myself. I had to like force the hand and make it to where I could. You have to almost trick your mind into, because like at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter if you win the soccer game. It doesn't matter if you make the varsity team in the grand scheme of things, unless your goal is to be a professional soccer player.
Yeah.
So like for 95% of people, it's not about that. It's not about showing up and like being the best. Is really just about building the character, which you don't know until after it's over, right? Do you think if you told your kid that would help, or your kid would just be like, what?
I mean, my parents told me.
They told you early on?
They were like, this is building your character. And you're like, oh, Mom, shut up.
But they said that to you.
Oh, straight up.
That's so interesting.
They were like, this is like when you get home and it's like coach hates you, crappy practice, you hate your team, you hate life. Mom, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Well, you started it, honey. You're not gonna quit. You started it.
Interesting.
You made the decision to sign up.
Yeah.
You're gonna finish it. And not everything in life is like that. There's times where you have to make a decision to leave, but it's like I'm really blessed that my parents instilled that hard work pays off.
What if some people just don't like sports? Is it one of those you were like, I don't care, do it anyway? Like some people just naturally just go toward art. But it's different because art's not like, you can't be pushed by something. It's like, that's a creative internal thing versus soccer. You're like, no. Regardless of anything, you have to show up and kick the ball and run. And like, that's just the reality of it. Like, what are you going to do? Like, how is that going to work if they just don't?
I mean, honestly, I haven't thought about it because, like, sports have been... I love sports. I mean, I feel like that's a guy thing, Guys love sports. Everybody that I'm around loves sports to some degree. And I think that's, like, one of the reasons that my sister and I are so different, Like, I look at y'all doing this photography stuff, and I'm like...
That was me a year ago, bro.
Yeah,
I did not understand this shit a year ago.
Dude, what are you... Like, oh, your lens, this. I'm like, dude, what are y'all talking about, man? But we're so different in the sense of like I like to say I'm statistically minded and she's creative minded, and so I wonder if our thinking differences is because of a little bit of the sports versus art idea. I hope my kids like sports.
Yeah.
I really do, and I guess that's all I can do.
There's a lot of things I worry about with kids because it's just so many unknowns, and yeah. But anyway, speaking of what you just said about how the people you're around, kind of like. It was just like all the guys, like all your boys, whatever, they're on the soccer team, I assume, and that's how it was for me too. I don't know. I feel like when I was growing up, I wasn't like cool. So like they were my friends at practice, but they were more like acquaintances. Like I never saw them outside of practice. I wasn't cool enough to like hang out with them. However, I don't know if this is a James Island thing, but JI dudes like are boys. Like they are boys. That did not exist at like. Port Gal had like boys, but like they would like turn their backs on each other all the time. West Ashley had boys, but like not really. James Island has always had like that group. Like I can pick it, and every year there's like that group of dudes, and like they're tight and they do the things together. Do you think, like, what has it been like being around them? And in some ways they're great, and then some ways like you just are different. Like you told me about it,
Yeah.
What is that like?
So, I mean, James Island, we're always known for like. I don't know. I feel like people love to shit on James Island.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know.
But I think I'm a little jealous, to be honest. I think there's a little bit jealous.
So I transferred schools, and when I transferred, I'm the JI kid. I'm the J.
Oh, is that what it was like?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Holy shit.
But they know that it doesn't mess with. Like I don't care. Whatever. You can call me. Like, I know I'll do better than you in life.
Probably.
Like that's my cocky capitalist mind. Whatever. I would say that my grade was the first year that the soccer team wasn't as close as it normally is. So like through middle school, the boys I played soccer with, those are my boys, period. Freshman, sophomore year of high school, I think there was a little bit of changes, but it was still that, like, even though we might not hang out every day or whatever, like there was still that, hey, that's my brother, and I think that is something that you don't see everywhere. I don't see that in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, well, did you go to school your whole life with them, or was it high school, middle school maybe, like soccer club?
So like my soccer boys, like the guys that I really like I still talk to, I might not be as close with, like those are guys I've been playing with since I was like middle school, late elementary school. And those are like my boys. And then like when high school came around, the team gets bigger, and so I think that's where it is. Like half the soccer team I was really, really close with. Like any of them, we can talk about anything. And then my best friend is he played on the soccer team together. And he's still one of my best friends to this day. But I feel like social politics kind of got in the way for the first time in a while.
Really?
I feel like looking back, like on previous years, and maybe that's just me looking up to the older guys, like those guys were tight, like they partied together, they hung out together, they did everything together, and like I don't know, like I definitely think that the group that I was involved with, like there's only maybe 2 or 3 of us soccer guys.
Okay.
It was, I don't know, maybe that's just how high school works. At James Island, that is. And then at Magnet, got like one dude.
Yeah, what was that transfer like?
Fucking
to Magnet?
I loved it.
Did you? It was good. Like when you transferred.
Not that I loved the change.
Okay.
I ate that up so much, and I love to tell people the story of how a good friend of mine, smartest kid I know by far. He's like, hey man, I really think you can go to Magnet, and I'm like, the hell are you talking about, man? Like, there's no way. I'm over here with an 85 in Spanish.
Yeah.
There's no way I can go to Magnet. He's like, well, why don't you just, it's 30-minute test. And so I go take the test, and my dad, like, comes outside one day, like, a couple months later, like, I completely forgot about it. He's like, hey, you got in. And it was like, it wasn't like okay, yeah, let me think about if I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you've been blessed with this opportunity. Love it or hate it. That's what you're doing.
Was it because you saw the, like, opportunity to, like, adversity, how you were saying, like, this is like an opportunity for me to, like, challenge myself? Was that a challenge for you?
Oh yeah, that was because I had two friends. I had two good friends that were at Magnet. One was actually coming to James Island the next year.
Nice.
One was the other one that got me over there. And so I was like flip flop and swap spots with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I mean, I tell people I don't think I could have gone to either school for all 4 years. I would have hated
Interesting.
it. Would have absolutely hated it.
Because you think you outgrow it and you're ready for something new kind of thing?
And I don't even put myself to that pedestal. I just get bored.
Just get bored.
If people, I mean, I can't hang out with the same person for too long, and it's like, can't see the same faces over and over again. So having the 2 years, and then it diversified my social friend group,
Very true. Very true.
It's a good way to think about it. So I got my GI boys, still love to hang out with them.
That's cool.
But then I see my Magnet friends, they're mostly Mount Pleasant kids. I see them day in, day out. See my GI friends on the weekends, back and forth.
That's how it works. That's so interesting.
And so I almost think about it like finance,
Yeah.
You just have a little diversification.
Just a little bit of, oh, wow. That's so interesting. Yeah. Because I have a similar story. I think you were just cooler. I think you literally were just cooler. Like, you were at, like, a higher position, like, social status or whatever. Because I did the same thing. What year was your transfer? Junior?
So I went freshman, sophomore at JI, junior, senior.
Okay, so I went to Portugal from 1st through 9th. Quit 9th. After my 9th grade year, I switched to West Ashley.
Okay.
Not nearly as an impressive transfer. It's fine. West Ashley is a wonderful school. It's so difficult, and but I lost every single connection to Portugal. I have not spoken to anyone from Portugal except, like, Sam Hutchison, but that's because he went to James Island. So, like, I've seen him because he, like, DM'd me on Instagram because he's in Iowa.
Yeah.
Apparently, but I forget how we reconnected. But I don't, like, talk to anyone from Portugal. I also didn't fit fully. It sounds like you fit at both your schools. My whole thing was, I never really fit in any groups ever, and I was kind of like you. I get bored quick. I'm like ready for the next thing. Like, as soon as, especially if I accomplish it, it's like, fuck. Now I gotta find something else because, like, I'm done with it. Like, I literally just completely finished with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, completely just fold the next chapter over, and I'm just, like, ready to go on. And that's why I get obsessed with that thought of, like, sometimes it's hard for me to stay present because I'm always looking for that next thing to accomplish. And I'm interested in what your thoughts are on that, as far as staying present versus looking forward to the future.
I mean, I haven't really got tied up in the whole stay present. We talked about this a while ago, like, or on this trip.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you were like, "Oh, are you spiritual?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
And it's nothing against that, but it's like I don't want to spend brain capacity thinking about that. I have my set things that I want to focus on, and that just isn't in one of those set things. Like, I'm sure I would grow from it immensely, and I'll probably go through a phase. I mean, you're 4 or 5 years older than me. Who knows? Maybe in 5 years I'll be like exact same place you were.
Well, it's possible. It's the lack of how you were saying, like, like a moment where you're like, you hit rock bottom, or like something really fucked up happens, and you're like, oh shit, and then all the things that you normally would fall back on don't work for some reason, and you're like, wait a minute, and then like how it happened when I went to your flipping thing, and, like, my mind kind of opened up a little bit and unlocked itself in a way. Like, it's possible something like might happen, but I know people who are way old who haven't had anything like that, and that's not good or bad. They just haven't.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to me that some people are so spiritual, where it's like, remember how we were in that thirst store yesterday, and you were like out here like, nah. I was probably like one level past, like, you know what? I understand, I can appreciate, but nah. And Nancy's over here like, hell yeah, But, like, it is interesting that some people are so far spiritual, some people are so far opposite. I'm probably closer, like, in the middle, maybe 60% over this way. But it's crazy that we all inhabit the same earth and do the same things. And, like, people you work with, Jane might be hella spiritual, and then Fred might be not at all. But they work together in the same dynamic, and they're able to have conversations. Like, you and I are talking. You don't have any spiritual, like, care or whatever it is, and, like, I have super intense like, passion for it, but I'm able to, like, do both, I guess. I don't know. It's really interesting. Like, did you have any friends in high school who were, like, super spiritual, or did you kind of just, like, nah, not into that?
So like I don't know if the only two things that I could think about that I'm like kind of into spiritually, being comfortable alone.
Are you?
Very.
Mhm.
That was probably the last 8 months. That's been something I really worked on. Is kind of. I mean, I like to say I have a hard ass mentality about life. Nobody cares about you. Nobody's gonna help you succeed unless they get something out of it.
That's true.
We like to think it's not, but
It's true.
who knows? And so I really tried to spend time, whether that's working on a business, researching what I am, but it's like I'm not dependent. I get most of my motivation from fear of being like other people. So I'll see somebody in my environment, and I'll get scared I'm like them. And so like I saw a lot of my friends were really socially driven. If things weren't working out socially, then they went rock bottom. And so I kind of like try to take myself out of that situation, try and focus on things that are solely for me. So that's the big one, and then the other big one is being comfortable and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you can preach that all day long, much better than I can. But then going back to with spiritual, like when I hear spiritual, I'm like, oh yeah, that one chick that thinks she's cool because she smokes weed and has rocks in her room. Like that's actually like so dumb to me.
That's dumb to me too. Because I think it's fake. When I see that stuff, I think it's a facade.
They do it for the clout.
Yeah.
It's like,
or it makes you feel more comfortable when it's not.
It's like in this day and age, kids flexing money when they don't have money because finance is cool. It's like, come on. Man.
Yeah. And people like you and me who can see through the bullshit like that, it's not like I feel better or like better than them, but I'm just kind of like, I feel like I'm just like, you just don't get, like, you don't understand like what you're doing, and it's kind of like frustrating to me because I'm like, I just want to like open your eyes to that so you can grow.
Damn, you're so much nicer than me.
No, but here's the thing. No, it's different. It's not
okay.
that. It's not that, because how you just said 2 seconds ago, everyone's trying to get something out of it. It's the ego thing. Like the same reason, like when I'm picking your brain, like it's a little bit because like, like you're cool, but like I want to learn something from you. I'm trying to take something that you have. And that maybe that's not super selfish. Like I'm just trying to like learn and connect.
Yeah.
It's less of a selfish
but it's still
thing,
something you're getting out of it. It's still
I'm trying to get something out of it.
Yeah.
I know that you're the first person on this podcast where 95% of that shit that's like in your head, I don't know, and which is crazy to me because in my head I'm like, I've seen so much shit and done so many things that I'm like, there's not that many people who can like teach me something, maybe like one thing here and there. But every time we talk, every third sentence is something I haven't heard before. I'm like, what the fuck? Like you just said, you're like, everyone wants something from you. I was like, yeah, that's true. And then I was like, that's true. That's very true, actually. And that's super interesting to me. Like, do you talk to people ever who open your eyes to anything, or are you pretty much like
every day?
You think so?
Dude, all the time. Like, especially with podcasts, like shout out to Bigger Pockets.
Podcasts, yeah.
Like best real estate podcast out there. It'd be like a kid that's like dropped out of college and he's got like 1,400 rentals under his belt, and I'm like, bro, like how? Like how are you able to syndicate? Syndication is just raising money for normally real estate. He's like, how are you able to convince people to loan you $1 million? How are you able to raise those funds? Like, dude, that's crazy to me. And maybe that's going back to the culture I was raised in. We don't talk about. I mean, it's taboo to talk about money.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, you learn something every day.
Here's a deeper question to that, a follow up to that, because I had this realization a couple weeks ago. I was listening to a podcast or something, and I was watching. In the middle of it, I just turned it off because I was like, you know what? I already know this. Like, I actually already know this, and it's a different context, different information, maybe different situation. But I know this. Like, I already know it. Do you really think that's something new that you're learning? Or like, when you said that about the guy flipping house when he's 14, I'm like, do you really not know? Or do you like, I know how, I just haven't. Or maybe I just can't do it or for whatever reason.
Yeah, I feel like most of the time when I learn something new, I know the premise of it.
Okay.
God, that sounds so cocky to say. Like most of the time when somebody brings something up, when my peers bring something up to me, I understand the gist of it. That's not to say that there's stuff I don't know. There's millions of things I don't understand. But I'm super competitive. So if I see you doing something, I gotta do it better.
You think so?
100%.
Really?
It's an ego thing. I'm the most egotistical kid out here. I'll be the first person to say it.
Yeah.
And that was like maybe one of my things for finance is this puts me in front of you.
Yeah, that's true. Is it actually a competitive with other people? Because I used to think I was, but like the more I live, the more I realize like sometimes in my head maybe I'm competitive, but I'm not really willing to do the thing to get ahead unless it's something I'm interested. Like you're interested in finance, so I could see if someone's like doing something financially, you would want to get ahead of them. But if it was like on the soccer field, if someone's better than like, were you really like, I want to be better than you at soccer, or did you not care?
Yeah, I wasn't, but I didn't love soccer.
So it's just with stuff you love.
It's just with stuff I love.
Okay.
Or, I mean, there'll be a time, like, I'll see influencers, and I'll be like, dude, this kid's got 100K followers, and, like, I'm not active on social media, and I'll be like, I can definitely do this.
You could. Dude, if you started, well, you could do a podcast, I think. You're very comfortable for the camera. More comfortable than I am, I feel like, even. And if you were to do, like, because people do this right now, just YouTube. They literally set the camera up, no B-roll, no, like, graphs, no charts. They just put the camera up and they just start talking about, like, they'll have a topic or a story that came out, you know, the Bitcoin word conference, whatever the thing was, with Elon Musk, and like they'll just cover it and like what their opinion on it was, what they think other people are saying, which is bullshit, and like what you think you really should take from it, and they'll post and get 40,000 views. Like, for you, is it not important because you don't see the money side of it, or are you just like not interested, haven't really thought about it?
I'm lazy.
Lazy with that side?
Yeah, I'm way too lazy. And I don't have a love for photography, videography, all that stuff. Like, that's so, like, a scary world to me. Like,
well, if you thought about, because with my thing is there's a couple people that I've followed who have an iPhone because they think like you, I'm lazy, I don't want to do this whole thing, you know. But they'll set up an iPhone, just flip it on like this version, you know, like shit quality, and they'll just prop it up on like a Diet Coke can, and they'll just nothing else, and they'll talk like this guy named Benjamin Cohen, big YouTube guy, 500,000 subs. He's probably making $30,000 a month on ad revenue from his videos. The man just goes on coinmarketcap.com, scrolls through the stories, looks at the things, gives his 2 cents, and clicks upload. Nothing else to it. He probably edits on iMovie. Takes him maybe 10 minutes. Like, what would stop you from that? Or is it just maybe that you're just like, oh, I haven't really, like, I don't fucking...
I think it's more of that I haven't really thought about it. I mean, I think that I'm somebody that obsesses over things. So I have this roadmap, you know, for my next 8 years, basically what I want to do. And that has came into my head, like, damn, like, maybe people do want to hear your thoughts, you know. But then it's also like, well, shit, I learned all this shit on YouTube, so what am I really adding if I'm just if I'm just recycling the same content, you know?
Yeah, that's a good thought.
But maybe somebody would get something out of it, you know, seeing it from a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, every time you word things in a way where it makes logical sense, because you say you have a statistical mind, you need it to add up.
Yeah.
So when you say it, it adds up in my head.
Sure.
So.
And I mean, if I'm selling anything, it's got to make sense to the person I'm talking to, you know?
Have you taken any marketing, sales, stuff like that? Okay, so you're really just about like, let me just make this make sense.
Yeah.
And the rest of it should take care of itself.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it came from, like, when I first got into crypto, like, trying to explain to my parents.
Yeah, that's impossible.
If I can't explain to my parents, like, it was back when I didn't have any form of plastic money. I couldn't buy things online, so I have to explain to them.
You could have been rich.
Didn't work out. Halfway worked out. Got my dad in, mom didn't. But you know, it was a great experience.
Yeah. Well, back then it was different. Like, I heard multiple people between the years of like 2014, 2018 talk about Bitcoin, but it wasn't a thing. Like, now it's a thing. People have established, like, this is something we need to pay attention to. So now people are willing to hear your 2 cents on it. But, like, I was saying the other day, like, that guy in my college class in 2017 who gave a whole speech on Bitcoin. Shit was worth, like, $1,000 or something back then. Like, I could have set myself up for the rest of my life if I had just taken 30 minutes and just set up the thing and just bought it. And, like, it just wasn't a thing. And 10 years ago, how you said you first got into it, or first heard about it at least, like, I was saying, out of 100 people, 99.9 of them are gonna say like, nah, you know.
And do you think it's I'm scared to lose $1,000, or do you think it's I'm scared to be made fun of because I wasted $1,000 on this?
I just think people are like not willing to put the risk in. I think they haven't computed. Like, the one thing that I took from your whole flipping thing and like talking about finance with you is the question of like, yo, what is this $1,000 really like? Is this gonna break my fucking life if I just lose this $1,000 versus the upside of like the best possible case scenario of like this $1,000 could 10x, you know? What if that's happened? And like, now I'm willing to take that risk because I'm like, yo, if I lose it, who cares? I'll make it back up. It's fine.
Yeah.
Which leads me into the point, which we talked about a little bit yesterday with college, because, what was it? With the time and the money and like spending your time versus spending your money. Like, for me, I'm like, look, I would rather just like spend $50 on a course, force myself to learn the course rather than go on YouTube trying to find hours and hours, spend 35 hours a week trying to like learn this thing because I'm like ADHD and I click on like news article, then I go to the thing I was supposed to click on, then I see a soccer video and it takes me forever versus like spending $50 on a course that's condensed, set up for me, and I don't lose my time, which I can't buy back, you know? And you're big on that. I mean, look, with your flipping and stuff, like, you're not You're not spending time. You're literally just spending money on it.
Yeah, I think I'm optimizing my time because it's definitely not passive.
Yeah.
You know.
And so I'm curious your thoughts specifically with optimizing time as far as college, because I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, so the running joke in my family is if college wasn't free, I wouldn't go. But
Okay.
I'm blessed with the opportunity where my college is paid for. Undergrad, I'm not going to have any student loans, basically. I chose to stay in state to ensure that. And so at this point, I'm blessed with the opportunity, the realization that the worst thing that college is for me is a waste of 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the absolute worst thing that can happen there. For some people, they're like, oh, if I don't get a degree, worst thing that happened to me, I'd lose 4 years of my time, which could be super valuable.
Well, that's my question. Is that 4 years? Say that happens. Say literally you wasted 4 years.
I'm 25 and I've nothing.
Yeah, like is that gonna eat at you? The fact that you could have used that 4 years for something else. Because my question into that, to just press you a little bit, is like, are you scared to not go to college? Is that the real reason you're going, or is it really because it's free?
I mean, everybody wants a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm going for engineering, so that's at least a little bit of a easy backup plan. It's an easy life, But going back to what you're saying, like, would I get mad at myself if, let's say, 4 years from now, I
get your diploma and you're like, fuck, like maybe I should have done that.
Well, then I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna take it self-blame. I'm quick to have self-blame and say, well, if you couldn't do it, if you couldn't get anything done in college, then what makes you think you could have done it without?
Okay, that's a good thought.
Wasting the 30 hours a week, you still got a whole lot more time than that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have really got it done if you had 30 more hours a week? Interesting.
Do you think you would have? With an extra, like, if you weren't working this job right now you're doing at the restaurant, if you had, I mean, I don't know how many, that's like 7 hours a day.
Yeah, so I'm working like 50 hours a week, 45 hours a week.
God. Jesus. 50 hours a week, what?
6 days a week.
6 days a week.
It's like 9 hours, 8 hours.
Jesus Christ. What would you be spending that time on, you think? If they were like, hey, you know what, we have enough people, we don't need you, you're good. Would you go straight into flipping? Are you going into, like, strategizing? Like, are you trying to make passive income streams? Because that's why I brought up YouTube, because it's a passive income stream opportunity.
To an extent.
A little bit, yeah. But, like, what would you be using that time with, you think?
Yeah, so these past 6 months I've been mostly focused on learning as much as I can. And so, like, I've fallen in love with podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I tell, like I said before, like, I try and optimize that time to where it's equivalent to if I wasn't working.
Okay. Right. You were saying that.
So
yeah.
if I'm doing 5 hours of prep, that's 5 hours of learning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard to cut mushrooms and listen to something. If I'm on the line, like, I'm not gonna be able to do that. I try and talk to people. Because you got to think everybody's got some piece of advice they can give you.
Mm-hmm.
You can at least learn from their wrongs. And so that's where, like, a guy at work, he flipped sneakers for a long time. He worked in New York. He was making 6 figures doing fashion stuff, and I was talking to him about, like, where he went wrong, basically. He's in a kitchen now. And I learned a lot from him. So I think taking advantage of it is important, because really even though it sucks, I hate it. I really hate it. But you got to find those little slivers of gold in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to take advantage of it as a new experience. I mean, it's only 3 months, whatever.
That's true. Yeah.
And college is not going to be as hard for me,
Do you have trouble with, because I have this problem with, especially since everything is so easily at your fingertips. Like, I can type in any topic on earth and find a video, find a podcast, find hours of content about it. It's very, very difficult for me to just, if I was to just pull up and lose service and not have anything, like, it's frustrating. I get really frustrated if I, like, don't have service and I can't spend the next 30 minutes of doing nothing to, like, spend it learning or, like, whatever it is, like, distracting myself with a video or whatever it is. Like, do you ever have time where you're not learning? You're not, like, do you think, are you constantly thinking about what you could be doing, like how you could optimize this scenario later in the future, or what you could be doing then, or what you need to plan? Like, is it a constant cycle of thinking about the future and trying to, like, optimize everything? Or do you have times where you're just kind of, like, chilling?
Everybody needs a break.
What is that for you?
You're not optimized if you don't take rest.
True. Very true. That's a good thought.
If I'm working 100%, I'm not working 100%.
Mm-hmm. What are the ways you decompress? Let your brain kind of just
mellow
so
out? Like, big things for me is, like, I kind of categorize everything into percentages of what it takes up. So like my focus is like love the gym, finance, entrepreneurship, and then work, and that would be switched out with school, school or soccer. And so I think, my hour or two before I go to bed, nothing about any of those three things. No homework, no working out, no gym YouTube videos, no finance
those
stuff.
Those are addicting.
Even if I see breaking news crypto,
really,
I'm not clicking on it.
Wow.
I'll read it, I'll save it, I'll wake up 30 minutes early naturally because I just want to dive into it so much, but it's really, I think recovery is important.
Yeah, 100%.
And it really goes from like people who say they work hard all the time don't work hard. Mm-hmm. You can't work hard all the time. It's impossible. What
do you think about people like, for example, well, I guess I can't say Gary Vee because I know he does decompress. Plus his thing is business. Like that's his hobby. Like that's how he like.
That's the other thing is I enjoy. I don't dread anything besides school and work.
Well, what do you think about like? I guess that kind of cancels out the question like of Elon Musk, like that kind of thing where it's like it's almost like toxic hustle culture, but it's different because for them it's not toxic,
So Jordan Peterson has a really good point on this. Love him or hate him, I think it's a good point. The people who are hyper successful in the workplace are not hyper successful in life.
Because the stuff falls off the plate, if it's all filled up with other stuff.
If you spend 100% of your time dedicated to perfecting your craft, to making money, to being super successful, you're not going to worry about your family as much. You're not going to worry about your own health. You're not going to worry about your friends. Those things are going to get pushed to the side. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it kills me when people are like, oh, this billionaire, he's got it good. Like, he probably doesn't. He really and truly probably doesn't. Because even though he's so good at making money, there's probably things that you have in your own life that you take for granted that they don't have. Mm-hmm. We saw Jeff Bezos got divorced. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine what going through a divorce is like,
Bill Gates, too.
Yeah. And so it makes you wonder, like, those guys that are super successful, that put everything into what they're doing, their craft, like, things are falling off the plate. I think that's a great way to put it.
Who are your, because you just mentioned Jordan Peterson, who I also like his stuff. But I don't follow his stuff like a lot. I see his videos, and like if I see his video and it's a topic I'm interested in, I'm probably gonna click on it. Do you have people that are your like people you're actually invested in that when they post something, you're gonna pretty much watch it 10 times out of 10? Like, do you have inspirations in not even just in finance, but just like life stuff? Probably YouTubers or something.
Yeah. So like I have like 3 or 4 guys in finance. I like 3 or 4 guys in fitness. I like.
Who are they? Who are the finance people?
So for Crypto Journey, Crypto's pretty good.
Fuck yeah.
He blew up though, and I hate it.
I know. He blew up
because
hard.
he says something, and by the time I get there, to even look at it, it just doesn't matter.
8 months ago, it wasn't that way though. 8 months ago, if he had said something, it was gonna work, and there wasn't enough people to like blow it up.
Token Metrics has really good fundamental analysis, but they're like a paid thing. But I just watch their free stuff. Their owners are pretty solid. Then for other finance stuff, I don't follow Gary Vee. Well, I would say Bigger Pockets podcast. That's my number one, for sure. Because I'm obsessed with real estate right now.
Yeah.
Like, so hyper obsessed with real estate right now. Like,
so you're not watching Grant Cardone, or like those people, the big real estate gurus that are in.
No.
None of them.
I can't relate to them.
Why? Because you haven't, you're not in that world yet, or.
When they started was different than when I'm starting.
But like how you said, you can always pick something like. I assume there's something Grant Cardone could say that would open your eyes. 100%,
but I'm going to get more out of watching an hour of a Bigger Pockets podcast, interviewing a 21-year-old about multifamily, than I am about Grant Cardone telling me that he bought a jet to have a tax write-off.
Yeah, at this point, he is a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Too far past. But what you said about Gary Vee is interesting because I would say for 95% of people, Gary Vee is, I would say, almost necessary. But people like you who don't need that push to go do that thing, it's like
sometimes I'll watch a Gary Vee video and I'm like, why are you telling me what I already know?
I know,
all right, because for me, if I see somebody doing it, it's successful, I want to do it. And so Gary Vee's like, just go buy a mug, go. You're
like, I already did.
I did that yesterday. No.
That's true though. No, I got to a point where I needed that. I needed for I'm not gonna act like sit here and act like I'm you, where I'm going after stuff. Like for a long time, I was the same kid that you hate, where you're just like you think I was maybe 3 levels past that of like. oh, I'm interested. Like, I was interested, and I even did extra research, like legitimate research, but I was always too scared to like actually, put myself in that position and do it for a long time. And I had to follow people like Gary Vee, constantly berating my social media pages because I was on them all the time. Just like every fourth video was him going, "Hey, get off your ass, like do the thing," and like opening my mind up and like kind of influencing me into like getting used to saying, "Okay, let's just go do that thing," and getting used to the idea of like it's okay to like be uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And like I needed that. And so I think for people like you, who just have that internally and they already do all those things, I think they're probably wasting they're wasting their time listening to those videos because like it doesn't help them.
And then Graham Stephan would be my last one.
Fuck yeah, Graham Stephan.
Great guy.
He's so cool.
If I got to meet
love
Graham
him.
Stephan one day,
Man, yeah, he's a cool. Do you watch
I'm sure
like Andre Jake? I'm sure there's other people that you've heard of that.
him.
Okay, well, Andre Jake's cool. He's more like crypto based.
Yeah.
But who are the fitness people?
So when I first got into fitness, it was watching the CrossFit Games. As terrible as
CrossFit Games?
Yeah.
The first?
That was like one of the first things I like.
Those guys are yoked.
I was like, you're telling me this dude can do this? I was like, I can go do this. I 100% got my ass kicked, but I don't do any CrossFit.
Yeah.
But that's so Matt Frazier.
I've heard of him.
Because he's just a beast.
Yeah.
You know? I got to see him. The other day.
Oh
He was at the
yeah.
gym.
You were saying that.
Yeah.
That's
so
weird,
when we were in Salt Lake City and I got my dad working out with me now and
That's dope.
and I turn
That's
around and it's Matt Frazier and this dude's got like a nice camera. I'm like, who is this dude over here? He gets up and I'm like, yo, I was freaking out. Anthony Montello would be another big one for me because he's relatable. He's 6 months older than me. If he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Obviously I don't look like Anthony Montello, but he's great.
And yeah, that's not even your goal is to be a big bodybuilder. But like, so what is like? So the reason you watch him is because it's like a comforting video to like watch. It's fun. It's just entertainment. Or
Yeah. So those videos are normally just in the background for me.
Okay.
I have to have something in the background. Like 95% of the time, I'm going to sleep watching a video.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's healthy. Probably isn't healthy.
I mean, it's out of all the unhealthy things, it's the least unhealthy. Like the amount of things that people have that are just horrible for you. Like things like when people say like I'm addicted to coffee and it's bad and this, I'm like, yo, there's a lot worse things you could be addicted to. Like it's fine. If you drink Diet Coke, like your mom, or you like do a bunch of coffee, like you know what? If you can still do most of your shit, like it's just not a big deal.
For sure. Hey, it's just training me to fall asleep anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
Because
It's true.
So those are kind of fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some other ones sprinkled in there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's some guys that I like there. Everybody likes Greg, Mogcaps,
Yeah.
James English, Douche. Great.
Douche, yeah.
Everybody
I can't believe
likes
how fast that guy blew up. I'm gonna change the subject entirely, a little bit back toward finance, or not finance. This is more crypto because when I said Andre Jik, the word NFT popped up in my head, and we briefly talked about NFTs the other day, and I had a conversation like a week ago with Easton about NFTs. He's not as business savvy, I don't think, as you are. I don't think most people are. And his version of what he thought would happen with the NFT space was very, very real estate focused.
Sure.
He thinks it's going to be real estate, NFTs going to be the big thing. Like Bud Light's trying to come in and like sponsor, like everything's going to go digital, VR and all that stuff. What are your thoughts on NFTs? Do you think like real estate is going to be the thing for NFTs? Are you even thinking about real estate in the digital world at all, or just physical?
So it's tricky. I first got introduced to NFTs looking at coins, cryptos, different projects. A lot of dev teams that were good. I was seeing what, when a dev team falls apart, I love to see where everybody goes. And so I was looking at like Engine. Back when they were like nothing.
That's I can't believe you like knew these things or like heard of these things before they became mainstream.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And so my viewpoint of it, I had no idea what I was looking at. And that was like I spent probably 40 hours in 2 weeks looking at.
Oh my god!
Like
that was like way back, right?
No, this is NFTs are only blew up in the last 8 months. I would say it's 12 months ago.
Okay, so you're just right before the hype.
Yeah, I beat the hype by like 3 months. Okay. Barely beat the hype, but it still could have been hella profit. But
it could if you had acted right.
Everything could have been. I got some NFTs. I'm doing all right. I'm about 8x up, but it wasn't a lot in there. And so I got in like Beeple. We talked about him a little bit. And so the whole thing for me was I was looking at it as an art perspective. What makes art valuable? well, let's take those common trends that make art valuable and let's put it into the NFT space. Because that's all I was focused on. I was focused on NFT art because NFTs are a world of its own. I hadn't wrapped my head around NFT real estate because a lot of times it's within a concept. So like, big game coming out, Mirandus, going to be a huge NFT game. NFTs aren't applicable in whatever other NFT world.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And so I was looking mostly at art. I got into Beeple because it's like, well, he's the first one. He's the big first one.
And
so
he's
like,
from our hometown.
We actually found out, or we think we know he's from North Charleston. I don't want to expose him if he
nuts,
is,
though.
but we're pretty sure he's been in North Charleston. That's all I gotta say.
I don't know if he'll be in North Charleston after selling that shit, but like, crazy.
Yeah. So when I was getting into him, you could buy any piece under $1,000.
Oh my god.
And now they're who knows 10, 50K, whatever.
God damn.
But you can't kill yourself on it because there's been other projects that have been super successful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started looking at the NFT gaming space because there was a lot of external support. So like Google Ventures, a lot of big companies were pushing money into this space. Video game stocks have been doing really well. Nvidia's been doing great. And so I bought some properties and some games, games that aren't even out yet.
How? Like, how are you doing that?
Yeah, so in order to raise capital, a lot of times, what I like is a game that is set. So what I mean by that is, let's say Minecraft is infinite land. Well, there's no value.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you could buy a block in Minecraft, but there's
doesn't
infinite,
matter.
It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Because it's inflationary.
But it's infinite. Basically inflationary. So I was looking at stuff where there would only be X amount of tiles, X amount of space that's going to be in demand. Okay, space is important for the game because my player is better at the game if it's in the space. And so I bought can't even remember. I don't even look at it much. But it was like a building that's going to be in this game and a space to put that building, and it's going to offer players whatever advantage to utilize that building. So they can trade me NFTs, or they can pay me, or they can rent out my space to be better at the game. And so I like that. I didn't put a lot of money into it.
How did you buy, literally how'd you buy? Did you go online and
through
the
going
game?
Back, I don't know how I got disconnected from this, but
I
when
mean,
when a company is making a game, it's expensive. They want to raise a little bit of capital. Let's say they have 5,000 block spaces. They might sell 1,000 of them in a pre-sale. No, and they'll hold on to the rest. Might release it later, and so in order to raise capital, they'll sell them. Basically.
And you get that information like Twitter or something, or you just hear about it, the research, and word of mouth or Discord or something. Yeah. Okay, damn.
Good projects shine through.
Because I think a lot of people who want to get started, for me, it was tough to get into NFTs because I was like, I don't know where to even start with that. And the answer is literally
what makes one NFT more valuable than the next?
For me, it was even less than that. It was even less deep than that. It was literally yo, what website do I go to? Who do I even look at? Where do I even find the projects to research? And that goes to my follow-up question for that was how do you even when you say, hey, I got lucky, you're what does that even mean? You got lucky and you are on 6 Discord servers that talk about it,
I put myself in a position to get lucky.
All right, because you mentioned that earlier.
I don't believe in luck.
Mm-hmm. You don't believe in dumb luck. So if someone buys a lottery ticket.
Luck. There you go.
Okay, all right, that's actually really smart.
That's a good way to put it.
That's actually a really good.
Everybody gets lucky once in their life.
Yeah.
Only a couple people get lucky more than once.
Smart. Very smart.
Yeah. So while following those YouTubers, I think Journey was talking about it.
Was he really?
I think he was talking about Engine, and that's where and then I got into NFT YouTubers and.
Are there NFT YouTubers? Oh, I should get into that. Gary Vee's pushing it. He's going hard on NFTs right now.
I absolutely hate
it. Yeah, well, it's
I
just going to hit
hate celebrities pushing NFTs, and I hate this.
Well, the reason Gary Vee, he said the reason he pushes it, because someone asked that. They said, why are you pushing this when you know it's it's I don't know, basically that mentality. His answer was no matter how much I say, only 1 out of 500 of you are actually going to do anything. They're not even going to Google it. He goes, I'm going to say it and no one's going to hear it.
Well, but the big thing for me is nobody who actually does crypto likes shitcoins. And a lot of celebrities are making shit NFTs.
So many, dude.
Jake Paul's NFT doesn't matter. You're not relevant.
Yeah.
And it gives a bad name to the space, but it does bring people to the space. So it's a
that's
double
the thing, yeah.
That's so I have never owned Doge in my life, but I love it. No monetary value, whatever. It brings people to crypto.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's how I got in.
And so if somebody looks at an Eminem NFT, Jake Paul NFT, and then they end up ending in whatever engine, all that stuff. Or even if they're on that NBA Top Shots, that was a big thing for a while. It's like NFT sports cards, and they kind of dive into the crypto space. Like I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know where else you want to go with NFTs. I don't know a lot about NFTs. I know a lot more about other stuff.
How do you? So like I guess my question about like where you find things, how you research them, will go less into NFTs, more just like investments. Are your main investments, like when you make money, when you make like a $2,000 paycheck or whatever, like how do you break up that percentage? Are you spending things on like yourself? Are you spending things on courses? Are you throwing like real estate or like flipping? Like how do you do that? How do you divvy up your
So
investment?
I like to say that the first $5,500 I make goes into my Roth.
Is it what?
My Roth IRA.
Okay.
Tax-free, great. Because that's a backup plan.
Yeah,
True.
True.
Safety net. But I don't lump sum it. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing to do is I'll open up my app, and if my Roth IRA is down that day, I'll put like $50 in.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, all right, it's down. I'm getting a good deal, even though it's like index funds. It doesn't even
That's
matter.
funny, yeah.
But I'll go in, and it's like, whatever. And then everything else is play around money. I can do whatever I want with.
Are you? Do you use any money to like gamble? Not gambling like a casino, but like gamble as in like go a high risk investment, like crypto, or like is it crypto? Okay.
Miners.
Oh right, the miners. Yeah. I don't even know if you want to get into that. I feel like that's like a subject people don't want to talk about because they don't want people to know.
You can know. You can't get one.
That's fucking true. That's very true.
And it's blown up.
And it's hard, dude. Like no one wants to do that, Like you're the only person I've ever met who even knows about it and is also like, let me do that.
Yeah, so I was obsessed with crypto money. It's passive income in its truest form.
Yeah.
I mean, what? You pay your electricity, you set it up, and that's it. You got this little robot over here mining you money. Like, let's just think about that. You don't have to rent out tenants. You don't have to do anything. It's just plug it in.
Do you understand what that even, like what it means? Like I assume you do, because like it's hard for me to put it into words, and I imagine for anyone listening, when they think of like Bitcoin mining, for example, I was like, what are you mining? I'm like, are you someone like online? Like I think of mining like chopping at something, trying, and like that's a good way to like look at it. But it's like where you're trying to find the Bitcoin. I'm like, what do you mean? Like what do you mean is to find it? Where is it? It's like in the ether. Like what does that even mean? Yeah.
So mining there's divided up into like all different types of mining. Mm-hmm. So your Bitcoin, Ethereum mining is pretty similar, even though the coins themselves are pretty different. So that's proof of work mining, and so basically there's a cap on Bitcoin, and if the hard fork's out by the time you're watching this, there will be a cap, and ETH might even be deflationary.
Hopefully, that would be nice.
So go buy some ETH. Well, maybe not now. Wait for a dip.
Wait for a dip, but get it before that.
Get a hopefully. Good deal. And so there's a set amount, so that has to be distributed somehow. Right, and so that's where the basic form of finding Bitcoin comes from. Is you're mining, you're solving an algorithm. Basically, it's like it's like a math lottery ticket, right? The more math problems you solve, the more lottery tickets you get. And so that was the original mining. Was they were just searching for these blocks, you could say, and then it got more difficult. So individual miners you weren't gonna find one, because it was basically like it was one block was one Bitcoin. So you could mine for a month and not find a block. You could mine for a month and find 3 blocks, depending on your power. And then pools came about, and basically how a pool works is a group of miners working together, and then the total number of blocks found gets redistributed based on how much work your computer's doing, right? And so that's proof of work mining. And then what happened is as Bitcoin's grown kind of bigger, more mainstream, those are the people that are validating the transactions. Right. So if you sent me X amount of Bitcoin, you're going to pay a little fee. And so that's like it's like a bank, Yeah.
The gas fee.
Yeah, it's just your gas fee.
Which goes ridiculously high. I remember a few weeks ago or a few months ago, whatever it was.
It still is.
Is it still high? I know it went back down for a
It's down. Bit. It's not like anything it was.
Because I don't use Uniswap
But
so
it was
much.
basically like if you don't have 15K, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Literally. No, yeah. There was a period where the gas fees were... What was the highest the gas fees got up to for Uniswap?
I don't know, $1,000, something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's why people like me went on PancakeSwap, even though PancakeSwap's a little bit less, what the word would be, like secure or like safe. I don't know. PancakeSwap's, I don't know. They're like on Twitter. They're such a public like thing that I just don't. They have too many.
BNB chain, right?
Yeah, and they're just too like public to just. Because what they could do is they could literally close operation and take everyone's money, but I just feel like they can't when you're at a certain level. But they can. You know, and with Uniswap, same shit with like what's his name, Vladimir, whatever his last name is.
Whatever, yeah.
Like he's at a point where he's so like famous where he couldn't just I mean, I guess he could disappear, but he's not going to. You know, he's like the head of Ethereum.
Yeah.
And I think some companies get to a point where it's like it's too far. Like, at what point is Bitcoin safe? You know, I guess that's my question. Like, at what point is an investment in Ethereum safe? Is it even close? Are we years away from Ethereum being like, yeah, that's safe?
Anybody that tells you to make an investment is an idiot. Me telling you to buy something and you buying it is a bad decision on both our parts.
Why?
If you don't understand what you're investing in, why invest in it? Don't invest in it. So I hate people that are like, buy this, this will make you rich. Buy this, this will make you rich. Dude, if I don't understand it, how am I getting rich from it? You know, and so I don't know. It's just so hard. I hate giving investment advice. All my friends are like, what stock should I buy?
Well, it's because you're the smart one, and they know you understand it.
I'm not as smart as people think.
But that's the thing. They think you are.
I got lucky.
Maybe.
I got lucky a couple times. That's all that happened. So yeah, buy what you believe in.
It's true. No, it's hard. I have a lot of ADA, and like when you're like at the restaurant, all you do is just shoot the shit with people, and especially in the wintertime, it Folly is like dead. So we're just like talking about like the amount of people that have just bought ADA just because like I have a lot of it. Like they've like I understand it, but I don't like completely understand. I don't know if I ever like will be able to like I don't know. I don't know if it's an investment or a game. It's more of a game. I mean, I feel like everything in the crypto is a sort of a gamble right now. Just because like Cardano, before it comes out with all this shit that's been working on for years, it's literally an idea. Like I'm literally gambling.
Yeah,
and,
I
like,
mean, there's a couple smart chains here and there, but it's not anything.
I'm like gambling on an idea that doesn't even like exist. Like when you say I'm buying Ethereum, like what is that like? To most people,
you
they don't
understand
even know
that you're
means.
gambling.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm cool with it. Because for me, like the investment, like ROI from it is like if I'm right, I'm gonna take a big fat dub. Because like I'm basically doing with Dogecoin, but being aware this time. Like I had no clue what Dogecoin was when I bought it. Like,
so I will say, right now, I'm not telling you to buy anything. I own 40% ETH, 10% Cardano, needs to be higher, 10% VeChain, 40% USDC.
No Bitcoin.
No Bitcoin.
Because you don't believe in it long term? You think it could be replaced?
Didn't say that.
I'm worried because I want to, you know how they're coming out with ETFs? Or they're thinking about coming out with ETFs? Yeah. I would love to invest in that as an idea. Like I want to invest in crypto as an idea. Or just that whole technology thing. I want to invest in all that as an idea. I don't know which one's going to win is the problem. I don't subscribe to the idea.
Because like that was how I was for weed stocks. I didn't want to invest in a weed company. I wanted to invest in marijuana as a whole.
Yeah, exactly.
As somebody, I don't smoke, chill.
No, it's true. Like I don't buy, like there's some guy made a video too where that kind of like spurred the idea in my head, but I was like, I don't buy the fact that like just because Bitcoin is big right now and it has been big and everyone who's bought it literally up until like right now at this moment, everyone is in profits from Bitcoin. But I don't think that just because that is the case now and has been for the past 10 years, that it will be in 20 years. Like who's to say
what's
USD?
It like everybody who's held Bitcoin for over a certain time period is
making money? It's like if you bought Bitcoin for like January, you are 100% of the time you will be in profits. But that doesn't mean in 20 years you will. Like there's always a chance the US could just say, nah, Bitcoin's illegal. You know, and some companies have done that. And I just don't like the idea of like, I don't know why people invest in Bitcoin, because like it's just not the best thing ever. It's just not the best thing. It's not solving a problem.
That's what you were getting at with why don't I own Bitcoin?
That was my question.
Bitcoin is virtual gold. Mm-hmm. It's the gold is not valuable because it's utilized. Gold is valuable because people like gold. Mm-hmm. People like Bitcoin, and it's got a market cap. You know, it's got a cap. So that's all it is. It's the store of value for crypto. It's not the next big tech stock. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not the Googles. That's where I like ETH. I trade in ETH terms, and that's what we were talking about the other day. So we're checking, and I was like, ETH back to 2K, and you're like, what's Bitcoin now? I don't know what Bitcoin's at. I don't care. You know, they correspond, but I've just, fallen in. ETH is the big boy right now.
Yeah. Well, with the concept of like, because I feel like just most people in general don't know anything remotely close. I mean, I don't even know a ton about crypto, but I know more than the average Joe. Oh yeah, helium. Shout out helium. I'm gonna buy some or I'm gonna research some and probably buy some based
Hey,
on like what you told me.
if you are not in helium, wait for a dip. Anything under
Yeah.
$10, oh, I can't even say buy.
It was yesterday, I
Because
think.
then I'm a hypocrite if I
It's
say
true.
buy under
It's true.
$10.
You said it twice now.
But
But it's also here's the thing with the difference between like a Bitcoin or like a million token I was talking about. It's like a store of wealth. The problem with that is once it's like yes, it's technically solving a problem of giving a store of wealth. However, as
That's
soon as you
decentralized.
lose that hype, like gold, as soon as people go, hey, I don't actually give a fuck about gold. I'd rather have the digital gold, which is what Bitcoin is. You go, but who's to say in 100 years people go, you know what? Bitcoin's cool, but like I like this thing better, and you just tanks, you know. But with Ethereum, Cardano, like Helium, that you're talking about, it's like a utilized thing. It's like a tool, you know. So it's like it's actually solving a problem that's like another company couldn't just pop in and be like, yo, I can do this too. So no, we spent like 10 years building this thing to be able to solve a problem. You can't just pop in and do that. And so something like investing in something like Ethereum or ADA or whatever is just a smarter investment in my opinion. I guess that's exactly what you were saying with that.
Yeah,
I've never met anyone who has that much Ethereum though, like as part of their portfolio.
40?
40%.
Well, think about it. It's pretty. You would see average person would have 20 if they are diversified. 20% ETH, 20% Bitcoin.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
Bitcoin.
True.
And also, dude, I just love buying dips.
It's fun. It's
Like,
fun. It's really fun.
You know, I had a couple limit orders filled recently with the dip, so I'm a little heavier than normal.
Do you do any trading? Like, do you buy the dip and then when it goes up 35% or something tomorrow, would you sell any, or are you like, no, I'm trying to accumulate it?
I do unintentional trading, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I like to have like a certain amount of USDC because shout out Voyager, that 9% interest is
It's crazy,
super
dude.
nice.
That is a lot.
And dude, there's a lot of cool things you can do with that. Like, because we know, speaking of trading, so like I'm not comfortable trading. I'm not good at it. Why would I do something I'm not good at? It's not optimizing.
Most people aren't good at trading.
Yeah.
Most people aren't.
But everybody sees the flashy numbers and the kids holding up 10K.
I don't even know how that's possible, because I'm like, there's people who have dedicated their whole life to researching that and swing trading, and they still can't beat like a 9% like just average return like over years and years of compound interest, like with the Roth IRA. They're like, if you invest in that, you'll probably do as well as the guy swing trading, and that's a hell of a lot of stress.
I mean, some people enjoy it; they really enjoy it, and so I understand that.
It's like a drug, I feel like, with daily trading.
But like cool ideas that I'm thinking of right now in the crypto space. So like recently, trading on margin was really cheap. But that's also one of the big flaws to crypto is everybody's on margin.
Yeah.
You know, we were like 1 to 4 for a while, and then like you were trading like 1 to 10 on margin. Basically, that means if I have $1 in, I can get loaned $10 a trade. You know, for people that don't understand. But you were able to get margin for like 2% interest.
When?
Like a month ago. I haven't checked recently.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about trading on margin.
I stay away from margin.
But
I
in
just
my
get scared
mind,
of that.
I'm like, all right, so if you can give me, if I can trade 1 to 10 on 2%, and I take $11,000, and I take $1,000, and I get $10,000, right? Let me pull up my calculator here. And then I just put it in USDC at 9% interest, right? Paid out monthly, $11,000. Times 0.09 divided by 12. That means that it's $90 a month passively. So as long as my monthly payment for whatever I got to pay on margin is somewhere around there, I'm in the green.
Yeah, that's very true.
So it's one of those plans that I have on paper, but I don't know like.
But something like that is definitely you need to know. You need to know a lot before you do anything like that.
For like me to be like 10K in debt to somebody.
That would suck.
Yeah.
All right, so this will be like the last like topic or question or whatever. I know you just said you don't like telling people what to invest in, so I'm gonna assume your answer is probably what I'm thinking. But in case you say something different, do you have an investment? Because you're only 18, but like.
Yes, I have an investment. Everyone should do.
Yeah, but like and how kids are getting they're into it so early. So I have a specific question with that. It's like when you're like 12 or like you got into it early, you're like 12 years old. What is the right thing to invest in? Is it yourself? Is it learning? Like, what do you think for like a 12-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid even?
Well, I hate saying invest in yourself because that doesn't help you. Like, in the sense of me telling you to invest in yourself doesn't help you. You investing in yourself does help you. But me telling you to go read Rich Dad Poor Dad,
which everyone says to do.
I didn't. God, I sound like just an arrogant. I got halfway through Rich Dad Poor Dad and I didn't learn that much.
Really?
Well, because I can learn it all on YouTube.
That's very true.
10 years ago, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, best thing ever. And I'm probably gonna get so much hate.
Low key, I read that book. I'd learned some stuff, but I didn't learn as much as I thought I would. I guess it is. So if you're already there, though, it's not really helping you.
Yeah.
So like, all right, instead of like what you should do, maybe for a 12 or 13-year-old kid, what are some of the right habits, some of the right routines, maybe?
The formula to success and wealth is to increase the gap between how much you're making and how much you're spending. The truest form of wealth is basically the longest amount of time you can sustain yourself on your costs without running out of money. So being able to make as much money as possible and spend as little money as possible is really important. And I think that that's going to be the biggest driving factor for my own success. I'm really comfortable below my needs. People knowing me are like, this kid drives a Corvette, shut up. But I'm going to make money on that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an asset. It is an asset.
Yeah.
Making money from your 9 to 5 is not going to set you financially independent quickly. It will in the long run. If you play your cards right, if you live below your needs. The side hustles, the grind, the lemonade stands, the cotton candy stands. I did it all.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to kind of learn. And that's where like you're going to learn stuff.
Yeah.
You know? People are going to respect you for putting the work in, and they're going to look at you differently. I think that one of my like the best thing I can bring to the table is that I'm an 18-year-old interested in that. Mm-hmm. So many people are like, I'm only 18 years old. Like, that's not a good thing. And I actually heard this in a Bigger Pockets podcast. The guy was like, the coolest thing I can bring to the table is that I'm a young, ambitious guy. Like, that's my biggest asset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm doing this as a kid. So even if you're 12, even if nobody takes you seriously, like, just do it.
Yeah.
You're going to find somebody that's going to take you seriously. They're going to teach you so much, you know.
Yeah. I think that hard mentality is good.
You can fail till you're 30.
Mm-hmm.
You got 30 years to fail.
Literally.
I mean, that's a Rich Dad Poor Dad thing.
Yeah. And people look at failing.
Start failing early. Fail forward. I don't know who said it.
Well, because you can get up. You literally can. Like, it's just not that hard. Like I said,
there's gonna be food on the table for most of us.
Yeah. Like, are you gonna die? Like, are you literally gonna? Is your heart gonna stop and it's just over? Life's finished. You're gonna be in a coffin? No. The answer is almost every time no. And plus, something that you probably already know. I don't know how, but you already probably know it. But like, the mentality that you have is very different than most people. But people forget, and I learned this mainly from the quarantine, looking back, is how long 1 year can really feel and be. You know, like 1 year is extremely fucking long. Extremely fucking long. And I heard this in I don't know if it's a podcast or what, but he said people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year, right? Because it feels long, and but it also feels short. But they underestimate how much they can accomplish in a decade worth of just doing shit, you know? And it's so fucking true. Like, if you just keep going, and it's really hard because people, I don't know, I can't relate when people say, well, like, it's just so hard, and, like, maybe they deal with mental illness, and I'm like, yeah, but, like, so do I, bro. But, like, the only answer is to just go anyway, you know? Like, it's like, yeah, I know, I don't care. Just fucking do it anyway.
Yeah, you really, you know, Joe Rogan preaches having a purpose to life.
Mm-hmm.
And then that hit me hard. Because, like, there's been times where I'm like, I'm only worried about money. Like, that's not a purpose, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, whatever it is, as long as it's positive, as long as you're growing from it, that's what you're gonna feed off that. You know, like, if there's something you really love, diving 100% into it that's where you're gonna grow as a human being.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's fun, you know? You get good at it. It's just fun, and I think maybe people get too caught up in their head. I've even been a victim of that. You get too caught up in the thinking of it, and just, I mean, like, this will be my last point, I swear. You play Pokemon?
I'm having a great time.
You played Pokemon before? Sims or any video game where you go through life kind of deal? I heard this in a podcast, and it was the most mind-blowing shit I've ever heard in my life. He was like, what if you were playing Pokemon, and the goal of the game is to level up your Pokemon until you can beat the game? What if at level 20, your Pokemon just rolled over and was like, I'm not moving. I feel fucking... The other Pokemon is stronger than me. I'm not big enough. My tail's not long enough. Like, Pikachu's like, my tail's not black enough from the tip. I'm not going to make it. And the game was like, you know what? Come back in 6 weeks. Your Pokemon's feeling anxious. And you'd be screaming your game saying, I don't care, go anyway, go battle anyway, go try it. Like, I'm not gonna just not do anything. That doesn't make any sense. But then when people live life and they feel a little bit like upset or whatever, and then they take 6 weeks off, like maybe that's what you need, but then they like beat themselves up about it. And I'm like, yo, the difference between Pokemon and life is Pokemon, you can beat the game in 2 weeks. You can't beat the game of life in 2 weeks. It's gonna take 80 years or whatever it takes to like beat the game of life or whatever you can take from that. But like, it's just longer. It's just longer. That's the only difference. If you just look at Pokemon like that, all you gotta do is level up.
I love it.
And just, do more stuff, like life experience. Like, instead of like experience points in Pokemon, you just look at that as like life experience, life stuff, like just doing things, going to new places. And that's why people would say, you think you're gonna move across the country and you're just gonna like, your life's gonna change? Well, they're right. They're like, you're literally right. Like, you do anything that puts yourself in an uncomfortable position, doing something new, it's gonna work. Like, you just have to like literally keep going. And it sounds like bullshit, but like, it's just fucking facts. It's literally just facts. But fuck. Yeah. I get so like caught up in that. Like, once I learned that thing about the time, bruh, it just makes it's so much easier to like get through anxious, depressed, shit thinking cycles where you're just like, I don't know anymore. Like, like it's such a long game. You just go like, yo, it's fine. Cause like when the good days happen, you don't think about it.
Yeah.
And so
as we wrap it up, you have any like kind of summary points you want to just like, if they made it this far?
If they made summary points, did we come up with the word that they're supposed to say in the beginning, or did we forget?
We kind of came with Mormons and then gave up. I don't know.
Oh my god, yeah. If there's any Mormons out there, if you're Mormon and you're listening at this point,
come on the
just
podcast.
Fucking please comment or DM me, because I want to know about Mormons. I'm in Utah. I'm probably here for 2 more weeks, so I will respond and I will want to talk. Summary points. What did we talk? We went deep into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, or
mentality.
just any like words of advice, like.
That the last bit I said about the time thing and like looking at life like that, I think that's a huge mentality thing. And me and my sister talk about this a lot with growing. I think a lot of people struggle, and I've talked about this before with kids especially, who are young and they have everything at their fingertips. They have TikTok, and they see all these things, and they're vicariously living through influencers and stuff, and they think they can act a certain way because they saw their Zoosh do it. I'm like, but you're not Zoosh. Like, Zoosh did this, and that's the reason he's here. Like, you have to do your thing and do whatever it is, and just like build your own life rather than create some fake avatar, design some stupid shit, butterfly tattoos, haircut, like belly piercings, like to tell yourself you're a hippie when you're just not. Like, just do the things that are gonna make you that. I don't even know where I was going with that.
Yeah, no,
but
I got you.
yeah, it's just that thing, bro.
Yeah.
Like, just.
And then from like a finance point of view, for me, it's take risks.
Yeah.
You're young. If you're over 30, I'm surprised you're watching this. If you're
Probably.
under 30, go take one risk this week.
Literally.
It doesn't have to be financial. Go do something that makes you uncomfortable.
For example, I think was it you guys I told how I went up to some
the
girl?
hot mom.
Yeah, dude, I literally was like, I haven't been talking to people. I've been anxious in my head about just like saying hi. And then how someone was like, yo, people just want to be like talked to. It just feels good. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Someone went up to me and just said something nice and maybe up into a conversation. I'd be pumped. So I was like, why would someone else not be? And so some hot mom was in Crumble Cookies. So if you're listening to this,
and
hit me up.
You're a hot mom.
Please hit me up.
Crumble Cookie.
And I was just like, oh, I like your shirt, looks good on you, or something like that. Just like as I was leaving, and she just was like, dude, the biggest smile on her face, and then she called me handsome. I was like, fuck, let's go. No big deal, So rarely is it ever going to be like that'll be my last piece of advice. Rarely is it going to be the worst possible outcome, because you always go to that. You go, well, all these things could go wrong. Well, is it worse than death? Like, are you literally going to just, everyone in your family gets shot, and you're dead, and everyone's dead, everything you've built is dead, and no, that's not going to happen. So it's like, what are you really, really risking other than just your pride, just being a bitch,
Yeah.
So, yeah,
well,
anyways.
Well, it was a great time. Thank you
dope.
for having me on.
Absolutely,
I
bro.
hope we didn't rant too much, and I hope everybody makes it to the end.
We hit literally an hour and 24 minutes. That's like perfect timing. 7:30, we're going to shower. We're going to eat some solid food. Yeah, dude, if you're still listening, thank you. Hit the subscribe button, drop a like on this video. Peace.